current iGroup chair for those that haven't been here before. This is a monthly iGroup council meeting. It is for men that are iGroup coordinators across the country, as well as men that are iGroups, and also anybody that's interested in groups. So this is the iGroup piece here. So what we're going to do tonight is the way the layout for this evening is we're just going to set things up with a grounding, and then we are going to talk about context of what the iGroup Council's mission is, and then we're going to do a check-in in breakout rooms. That'll be about maybe 10 minutes, depending on how many people show up. We'll do a check-in, and then we're going to come back to the main room, and then I'm going to set it up for our special guest, Phillip Beverly. And we'll talk, he's going to talk about the combination between iGroups and the new things that are going on in the NWTA and see how we can make those linkages better together. And then we'll go into maybe a breakout room after that, but I'm flexible in that area, and then we'll end the night, and it's typically 90 minutes. So that's going to be the layout for this evening. And I would, so anybody else that's new in the role as the iGroup coordinator for the area, I want to just recognize men in their new roles.
Hey, Mike, Rob Tiller. Yeah, be taking over for Josh in Columbia.
All right, welcome, Rob. Rob is the new iGroup coordinator for the Greater Carolinas. So glad you're here, Rob. All right, anybody else?
Hey, so I'm with Capital Container iGroup here in DC. I don't think I'm the coordinator of our iGroup. Usually you'd see William, but he was away for something, and so I decided to tune in and see what it's all about.
Okay, good. Glad you're here. All right, anybody else new in the role of the iGroup coordinators?
Hi there. I am Jared Wilhelm from Chicago.
Jared from Chicago, awesome. Welcome, Jared. Are you in the pit?
Correct. Yeah, Mike, you're the boss there.
Oh, yeah.
That's why I thought I might be in the wrong meeting. I was like, what?
No.
What's going on?
We're not teaching clearing. We're not teaching clearing, Jared. Sorry, there's so many boxes in this room. Yes, so Jared, welcome to the iGroup coordinator position. Glad you stood in. Anybody else? Any other iGroup coordinators?
I'll introduce myself on behalf of NorCal. My name's Gary Ree. I was the iGroup coordinator for Sierra Foothills for 3 years. Now it's another man, but I'm glad to finally be here.
All right, awesome.
Well, I'm not I'm not the coordinator. This is the first time I've been in for MKP for 8 years. The first time I ever heard of the role of iGroup coordinator. So
the role that
glad to be here.
iGroup coordinators basically, thank you. iGroup coordinators basically support the iGroups in the area, and any new men are looking to sit in local circles. The iGroup coordinator helps out with that. So
I'll jump in there, Mike. Hi there, Jed Waldman here. I'm also in that nebulous position. I'm not the area coordinator. I'm a regional coordinator within the area. Gary, you and I should talk. There has been a long-term vacancy there, and I thought I'd jump on the call because the topic interested me, and I could maybe report back to the group meeting where the iGroup coordinators within the area meet.
All right. Okay. Good. So take that offline. And all right, I would like to do a grounding, if I may. And I brought something up, and I would like a man that's just to read the underlying portions. Can I get a volunteer with a nice elder voice and energy to read?
I'd be happy to.
Who's that?
Jared.
All right, thank you.
So starting at
Jared.
each new warrior?
Yep.
Each new warrior has a mission for his life. Today, right here, we are the co-creators of a new way of being as men. As a new warrior, I create my own reality and develop my own vision. Transformation, moving from one way of being to another, invites us to face shadows from our past. New warriors know that the toughest battles are fought within our own hearts and minds. These types of warriors have been around for centuries. Perhaps each of us knows of such men with vision beyond themselves. Yet a vision ahead of its time is rarely popular because people fear and resist change. That fear makes it dangerous to be a visionary. The new warrior lives on the cutting edge, facing that fear in order to manifest his vision into our universe. The way of the new warrior is to be awake, to be healthy, to live life with integrity, to empower himself and others, to live life with mission, and to evolve as a man through connection with others.
Thank you. And who can tell me where that's from?
The context presentation.
That's right. Usually done 3 times on the NWTA. Thank you, Jim. Can somebody read the MKQSA mission, please?
The mission of MKP-USA is to create a world where men act on their individual and collective responsibility for the future of humanity by initiating and supporting men on a path of emotional maturity, spiritual awareness, and deepening community.
Thank you. Can I have a man read the purpose of the I-Group Council?
I can do it. Go ahead.
The purpose of the I-Group Council is to support and enhance the experience of all men sitting in I-groups and men's groups.
Thank you. All right, so Bill, we're gonna do a random breakout room for check-in?
Yes, sir.
All right, so the check-in All right, I think we brought you back a little early because some men said they were already done with the check-ins. Everybody back, Bill?
Yes.
All right, so the reason why I asked that prompt is that there are a lot of changes going on some of the NWTAs, and I know for me that when some traditional things get lost, I have a response that's inside my body. And so my invitation for this evening is to be aware of that response that you have inside your body around change or loss of tradition, and be curious and open. So the boundaries for tonight, the topic for tonight, because I don't want this, because this could be a broad-ranging topic. The topic for tonight is that we are an integration group council. So our I group stands for integration group. Basically, we integrate the work that we do from NWTA. And there's a linkage between I groups and PITS and the NWTA. And so what's going on now is we're doing a lot of these different changes. Phillip is going to be leading a weekend in the Carolinas in 3 weeks. And I got the outline, I'm like, wow, lots of changes, a lot of interesting things. And so what we want to talk about is the nexus, I think Phillip used that word, between the NWTAs and some of the changes going on, and how to link that in with the I group. So men can actually, from that weekend, integrate their work on that NWTA. Anything outside of that, we're not going to talk about that. Anything in terms of losses of other processes that we've done in the past, we're not going to talk about it. We're talking about the new processes, some of the new changes that we have, and the linkage to the I group. So with that, I will pass it off to Beverly. Where is Phillip? Phillip, and can you see Phillip?
Thanks, Mike. Can you put the first slide up for me?
Sure will. There we go. Got it?
Yep, that's the one.
I'm gonna do a slideshow so people see it. All right. There we go.
Okay, so what we do essentially is an initiation, right? It's a men's initiation, moving from one state of being to another. All of the Western literature around initiation can really be broken down into what you see on the screen there, these 4 phases of that process. On the left side, it starts with the call. Once the initiates arrive to the site of the initiation, there begins their descent and their separation from
the outside world. After that separation and descent is over, begins their ordeal, their test. And after their test, hopefully is passed, begins the ascent integration phase of the initiatory process. That is initiation. The call, the descent separation, the ordeal, the ascent integration. This has been studied for decades by sociologists and cultural anthropologists and anthropologists much smarter than me. I just go by what the seminal literature in those disciplines says about initiation. Put that second slide for me. The other thing that's present and needs to be present in men's initiation is these four things. Has to be a separation of the boy from the mother. That is a very sort of wide-ranging construct. It really includes separation from the orbit of the feminine. In the East African traditions that the Maasai practice around initiation, boys are initiated at about 13, 14, and the men come and physically take the boys from the women, from the mothers, the grandmothers, the aunts, the sisters, and they take them away. And the first thing they do after that is they cut their hair. They shave their heads. The boys have never had their hair cut. And so that begins their separation, their descent, that separation from mother. The second element that's really critical in men's initiation is facing one's mortality. Now, in the West, this is going to be really difficult. This is because we're a litigious society, we can't really construct an initiatory experience where someone might die. In indigenous cultures, boys die. The tribe knows it. It's all part of the deal. It's possible that they may die. It's important that they face their death. I think we have to sort of construct that in a different way to give men as close a sense to that as we can, and I'll talk about that in a bit. The third thing that they have to face is the ordeal. They're going to be tested. Generally, young men, young boys are being initiated into manhood. And so those tests tend to be very physical to see if they have the courage and the fortitude to be able to defend the village, to protect the people, right? And then the last thing that needs to be present in the initiation is this sort of sharing of the secret knowledge with the initiates, that the elders set out sort of expectations and tell them the things that are critical for the tribe, so that the little boy I begins to move to the grown man we, because the initiated men are responsible for the safety and the well-being in the village. They are responsible for everybody, not just themselves. So those four things need to be present in the initiatory experience, right? So we saw the arc. These things have to be present. How do we do that in NWTA? So I'll tell you a couple of the changes that I've done to try and hit these points. And let me preface that with, I'm a Michael Greenwald acolyte, okay? Michael has mentored me literally from the first weekend that I staffed in 1997, right? And so I've had lengthy, in-depth conversations about this. And let me tell you, I've been studying this for a long time. And the more that I read, the more that I learn, I am aware that there's 10 times more that I don't know. So I don't have all the answers. I just keep asking the questions, okay? So to this first point, separating the boy from the mother, I couldn't figure out how we can do that in an NWTA. How does that work, right? And then I said, okay, what if we tried this little piece? Where does the little boy show up? There's a couple places on the weekend. One is at Wild Man Gift, when he's trying to retrieve the golden ball, right? And the other is in little boy's deepest needs. And I thought, what if we did it at little boy's deepest needs? That when the man gets to the field and he's ready to approach his little guy, what if the little guy is at the side of the mother and he needs to physically take him from the mother so that he knows he has to separate from the mother because it's him, obviously. And I tried that. And I thought, okay, that sort of worked, but it was incomplete. It was half a circle. And so I had to figure out, how do I close that circle? And it wasn't until my next weekend, a few months later, that I was listening to the man do exactly this, doing little boy's deepest needs. There was the separation. And then it occurred to me, oh, he has to go back to the mother. He has to go back to the mother to tell her he's going to take care of the little boy from now on. That he will be safe, but now the man is in charge of the safety of the little boy. And that's what I did. Okay, so I figured, okay, we can close the circle. When would we do that? Oh, why don't we do that right before mission? Oh, that sort of makes sense, right? Because I do mission on Sunday after the gift, when the man is in the most empowered place, we hope, of the whole weekend, where he realizes he's the gift and he's full and he's pulling these pieces together archetypally and he's integrated, right? That's when he should be doing mission. And so I said, this will take 5 minutes right before mission, perfect setup. I have these guys, I take them down. This is my last weekend a couple weeks ago. And I figured I'm just closing the circle, energetic thing. And I do this piece and men start crying. And I was totally unprepared for that. I didn't expect there to be a visceral, emotional response from men, knowing that they are now responsible for the safety of their little boy. I had no idea that men telling the mother, however mother's constructed for them, that when they come back as a grown man, not as a little boy, that would be a thing. And it was a thing. It was clearly a thing. So that piece is about as close as I've gotten to getting that separation of the boy from the mother as part of the male initiatory experience. The second piece, facing one's death. So there's a Latin expression, memento mori. Remember, you will die. And so we created a process around that is, part of it is like a life review. And men go back and then we take them to their deathbed and ask them some questions in this sort of guided imagery space. So who's there with you? What do you imagine you would be thinking? What regrets might you have? What was left undone, unsaid in your life? Because you are going to die. And have them sort of face that, right? And then write about that. And then after Midnight Adventure, where they sort of reclaim their life during the Midnight Adventure, and I'm not going to explain that whole thing because we don't have time there. You can read in my supplemental report from the weekend when that comes out. But they reclaim that, and then they go to a crossroads piece. And it's simply 2 questions before we send them to bed. And this is after they've debriefed the whole Midnight Adventure thing, because they have to do that. So knowing that you're going to die, how are you going to choose to live? And what's in the way of you living that life that you envision for yourself? So that's about as close to facing one's death as I think we could get. And then the ordeal, I think we have to sort of reimagine what the ordeal looks like. It's not guts. It's not. I think there's this interesting overlap right around the end of the greeting to the chapel that sort of ends the descent separation and begins the ordeal. And I know for me, the ordeal really began with accountability on my weekend. And that was just it. That was like, oh shit, I got to like tell the truth here, and these other guys are going to tell the truth, and well, wait a second, that's not how the world is. That wasn't my ordeal, and that ordeal, if you remember from that first slide, that's the largest part of the weekend, and that, in my mind, on an NWTA extends from Friday night through Saturday all the way up to Saturday. All of that to me should be ordeal. And then the secret knowledge thing, I think, sort of starts in a process that we tried on my last training. We called it the 3-ring circus, but it's this. So after we finish guts, typically we'll do the moment of truth. And we have the question that whoever was on the wall will say, did you touch a piece of your shadow? Right? But we haven't spent very much time talking about shadow from the meta up here, the sort of high level Jungian conversation about shadow, all the way down to sort of shadow mission for men, which is, individual for each of them. And so I thought, okay, we'll start there, but we need to give them some more. And to me, the some more started with a question I asked the co-leaders on a weekend recently. I said, hey, is sexual shadow that important to a weekend? Just to get set that we have to question things to see if they're sort of core pieces, processes, or are they tools, right? And they were like, well, yeah, it's important. Are you saying we should do it? I'm like, oh no, I think it's core. I think it's incredibly important. And yet it seems to be incomplete because men can leave the weekend with having pulled the veil back on that sort of element of their life where they're more aware of shadow. But what about the other shadows in their life? Like money shadow, like shadows around religion or spirituality, around women, around money, right? Why aren't we sort of pulling the veil back on that so they can leave the weekend, and when they enter their I groups, they have much more awareness of all of these other shadows, and we can expose them to some of that on the weekend. We have the time. And so that's what the 3-ring circus was. We started with money shadow, and we had them do some awareness. It wasn't work necessarily in that sort of guts traditional, somatic thing, but they got some awareness. And then the second ring of the circus was they picked. So what's up for you in your life that leaving here you're going to have to do some work on when you get to your I group and it's time for a work round? You have some insight into that, and it's not like, oh, I don't know. It's what's like front of mind for you. And then having shared all that, these men were then able to roll into sexual shadow much more connected because they were already sort of emotionally disrobing, if that makes sense. And so that was all part of the test and the testing, and it's part of the secret knowledge that we're passing on to men that they're going to need at the next phase in integration / integration group of this is where your work can get done. But have some awareness. Take from the weekend some stuff that you can put in that backpack. Take those rocks out that you're carrying and put something else in there that'll help you with your work later. Okay? Hit the third slide for me, Mike. So all of that came about because of innovation. And for us in the leader body, it started with some changes to our leader agreement. So we have had as a leader body, been indoctrinated into change bad, no change good. And I don't believe that. If you don't innovate, if you don't adapt, you die. I'll give you an example. When I was a kid, Gatorade came out. The original Gatorade came in a 32-ounce glass bottle in one flavor. Had the company that made Gatorade said, Gatorade good, one flavor, 32-ounce glass bottle, they'd be out of business today because somebody else would have come along with different flavors, different sizes, different presentations. Now look at Gatorade and see what their product line looks like. They innovated because that's how you survive. So I said, where should we start? We started with the leader agreement. That gave us the opportunity to flow into the NWTA and look at things. And then coming here tonight, my invitation to you, to us, is to have a greater connectivity between the NWTA and the I-group process. Because if you recall from the first slide, the last phase of initiation is integration. And I'm of the belief that maybe the weekend isn't the initiation, it's those 4 phases. And so the I-group process is part of their initiation because it's part of their integration. I know that's a radical concept, and we seem to say, oh, weekend's over, you're this now. And it's like, well, maybe not. Maybe we should rethink that. Maybe we can rethink that. Maybe we should challenge all the assumptions that we have about what this should look like, could look like, does look like, whatever. And so now, here we are. What's it look like in the I-group process as part of men's initiation? And you can stop sharing, Mike. I'm open to questions about whatever I've said here.
And Ben, please use your raise hand feature so I can see it. Do you have questions for Phillip? Thank you, Phillip. Adam Waywell.
Thanks, Mike. Phillip, what does that last step look like in the short version of continuing this concept of initiation, integration with the I-group process? I'm just curious. I'm in.
Okay. I would say we have to have some conversations between the folks who have the responsibility for the initiatory process. I would say the leader body, the NWTA stakeholder circle, and the I-group council, and start talking at a deeper level. So what is the integration process that we're doing? How does that sort of meld seamlessly into what the weekend was about? So we could start there, just having a working group, having conversation.
Thank you, Phillip. I'm complete.
All right, Eric Cooper.
Eric, you're on mute.
Yeah, I just have a question for clarification. You were talking about, the sentence started, knowing that you are going to die, what you are facing, and what were the other sort of bullet points in that list of that little phrase? It didn't show up. I tried to get the transcript, but I didn't see it there.
Knowing that you're going to die, how do you choose to live?
Yeah.
And what's in the way of you living the life of that man?
Yeah. Thank you. That's excellent.
All right, Josh Clyger.
Yeah, Phil. I like what you said about sexual shadow being incomplete, and I'm curious what you think about maybe at least what I got from you talking about that, and if you see a connection between that, and the grounding and renewal process, and parts of that specifically where where men are offered to burn something, to put something down. Is there a connection there you see with kind of recognizing other shadows?
Yeah, sexual shadow, I think, is so ingrained in us, and it could have been just by accident that it's that important a piece on the weekend. And thankfully, it's that important a piece on the weekend, right? But I think if we leave it on the weekend, that's probably the mistake. I think with a lot of these, we need to have more offerings to be able to take deeper dives into that work, right? Especially when men are coming to the weekend with different levels of experience in the work. Some guys, they do sexual shadow on the weekend and they're like, "Oh, good, I'm good, I'm complete." Some guys are incomplete and need more after the weekend. I think we just need to be able to expand our offerings a bit. And there's some guys I know in our leader body who are trying to construct that for us right now.
Got it. Thank you.
Thank you. Doug Keegan. Doug Egan.
Howdy, Phil.
Doug?
Hey, got a question on, during you were talking about the separation and the separation from mother, and actually telling them we're taking you from your mother now, or however you phrase that. Just curious how you would handle that if someone doesn't know their mother or never had a mother.
Yeah, but they did. That's just it. They
Okay.
did. They didn't. They may not have known it, right? So what if a man shows up on the weekend, his birth mother died giving birth to him, right? He still had a mother. He has, I'm going to make up, created something in his mind about what mother means. And so mother isn't just the literal physical representation. It's an energetic, almost archetypal representation that's there. Does that make sense?
Yeah, thank you.
Okay.
All right, thank you. David Morbeck.
Phillip, I love your vision of innovation and asking and continuing to tweak, where it works and test. I've always had the question of, we have cock talk or sexual shadow, but we don't have wallet talk and money shadows. Like, it was crazy to me that didn't exist for the longest time. I also like how do you approach the death part of an initiatory? And I know sometimes on carpet before the man gets their balls or whatever they're getting, it's like, what do you have to let die? So I love how that's important to you. I love bringing this to the iGroup Council, but it also seems it's very important to bring it to the PIT Council. And, I do a lot of the PIT facilitations in Chicago, and these ideas to transfer into the PIT training is a good way to start that. And I would love to have you come and speak to that council too. Thank you.
Thanks, Dave.
Thank you, David. Yes, Charles Penner.
Yeah, thank you. As I understand it right now, the NWTA is sort of one thing, and the iGroups are another thing, and many or most men don't leave the NWTA and join an iGroup. They just go back off into the world without joining that. And if it seems like those are really two parts of the same one process, how do we encourage more men to join iGroups, or how do we handle that transition from two distinct activities right now to more of one seamless experience?
Okay, funny you should ask that. It's just at a board meeting, and what we found out from Boyson is our numbers of men attending iGroups and attending PITs for this year is actually double what it was last year. So we're actually getting more men to come to PITs. That could also be a function of more men are coming to the weekend having been in iGroups and open iGroups or whatever. So I think at least for the next year or so, we ought to take a look at what those numbers look like and see if we can maintain them. And if we can sustain that, I think whatever we're doing, we just keep doing that.
Thank you. Robert Weber.
Thanks, and thanks, Phillip. I appreciated hearing what you were talking about. two things. And the first one I haven't really thought through. It just came to me because I've experienced it, is 10 years after my training, I was just going downhill, and I was constantly involved in staffing pits and weekends, and I thought I was dying, literally, physically, dark space. I realize now it was emotional deaths, and I don't know if that's even a topic, but there were parts of me that just weren't working, and I didn't realize it. So different kinds of deaths, and I really thought I was leaving the planet. Maybe that's just part of my growth process. So I'll leave it at that. The carpet training, carpet work facilitation training, I've been involved since 2001. And quite frankly, I realize I've done a lot of training for iGroup processes and also for carpet work. And I think that it could be emphasized that carpet work facilitation training ought to be as much a part of iGroup work as, the manual of iGroup processes.
So Robert, do you have a question?
Observation.
Comment.
Yeah.
Observation. All right. You can think. All right. Thank you, Robert. Don?
Just to get an overview, what we're talking about is, as I understand, is we're talking about changes to PIT in order to more fully reflect and build upon changes that are being made in NWTA. Is that an accurate understanding of what we're about?
I would consider it or characterize it as an invitation to innovate where appropriate and be more connected, be more aware of the nexus between the weekend and the iGroup.
Thank you, Philip. Creating more work for me. Appreciate you, Philip. Thank you. All right, Rob Tiller.
Thanks, Mike. Good to see you again, Phil. Looking forward to staffing with you in a few weeks. The question I have is, with all these changes, how are we going to assess them? How are we going to be able to identify what works and what doesn't work? To use your soft drink analogy, Coke changed their formula in the 80s. And for, men of my age, we know how that went. That was a big hit to the Coca-Cola Corporation. So how are we going to assess the effectiveness of, the changes that we're going to be making?
So here's the good news, bad news, and it's mostly bad news. The thing that we do is not really subject to a typical sort of assessment of effectiveness. And so if the question is, how do I know that worked? I think I have to flip the question and say, be aware if it didn't work, right? Because there's no way to sort of get a large enough in size, right, for it to be reliable and to account for the variability between weekends. I'll give you an example. So I do a process called God Talk on occasion, if there's time, right? I did God Talk in upstate New York about 3 years ago, almost 4 years ago. Probably the most powerful process on that weekend. I did God Talk in South Africa. Epic fail. Epic fail. And so if I take those two instances and I go, well, wait, one was really awesome and one just was awful. Is it the process? Does the process not work? Was it the facilitation? I didn't set the context right. Was it the container? And we don't have enough data points to be able to answer those questions in the traditional way where we can answer that question Does it work or not? This kind of work, I think we just got to trust whatever spirit tells us about the effectiveness. And trust me when I say this, I've been a social scientist for 35 years. I'm a retired college professor. So not being able to answer questions with some specificity drives me crazy. And yet I have to hold the possibility that this is just stuff we can't answer in the way that we typically would want to.
Okay.
Thank you.
Like I said, looking forward to staffing with you in a few weeks and seeing how this new process is going to work. Appreciate your time. Thank you, Phil.
Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you,
Thanks,
Robert.
Rob.
All right. Gary?
Yes. And I have a question for Phil. And I think it might have just partially been answered with your reference to God Talk, which is news to me. And I know there's a lot I don't know about what's going on with these innovative weekends. But about iGroups, my iGroup here in Nevada City, Northern California, has expanded greatly over recent years. I'm happy to share. And one of the things that we do that I think is particularly powerful amongst all the iGroups I've seen personally in the last 16 years is there's a lot of ritual. And we know, because thank you, Mike, the mission of NKP includes supporting men in their journey to emotional maturity, spiritual awareness, and deeper community. So with this innovation and all the experience and opportunity for learning that you've been doing, Phil, what have you seen on the weekend that is powerful with regarding to supporting men in their journey to spiritual awareness? Particularly interested in the roles of GNRC leads, ritual elders that have been involved in this innovation. Can you share a little bit of that?
I think I would give you an admonition around this, okay? And it's this. I'll give you an example. So I'm in South Africa, another training, and we're getting ready to go into guts. And one of the elders, like Kosa Mag, starts singing, and some of the other Kosa men start singing this song in Kosa. And I don't speak Kosa, so I grabbed one of my guys who's a co-leader now. I said, "What's the song?" He said, "It's a Kosa initiation song." And I was like, "Oh, wow, that's powerful, right?" That could never be replicated on any other training. So I wouldn't even like write it up in a report. Because it doesn't fit. What I have to trust, and I invite my staff every time I lead a weekend to ask and answer the question, what is Spirit trying to get done here? And if I can answer that question, then I can get out of the way and let Spirit get done what Spirit needs to get done. And for me, that's the thing that elevates men. It's like the unknowable. There's a Dagara word, Iobangura, the thing that knowledge can't eat. And so it's almost the unexplainable, the mystery. I can't create that. I can co-create the other stuff in hopes that I'm doing what Spirit's trying to get done. Does that help answer that?
Yeah, it's a beautiful answer. Not the one I expected, but what it says to me is you're modeling something that supports men in their spiritual awareness. And maybe that's all we can do. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, Dawn. And then, go ahead, Dawn.
Isn't the most meaningful measure of the effectiveness of a weekend how many men follow up with PIT training?
No, I wouldn't say that. Because there could be any number of factors about why men wouldn't follow up with a PIT training. They may be going back to their own iGroups, for example, or they may not be interested in that element, right? In Chicago, we used to do trainings for becoming BAM counselors. Those guys aren't going to come to PIT, but that doesn't mean that the training was ineffective.
All right, thank you. Loris.
Yeah, so so I got to admit, when I saw some of the changes you were doing, I was like, what the fuck? And then when I heard them now, I'm like, wow, this is awesome. Because I'm one of those who are like, well, it's not fixed. If it's not broke, don't fix it. But I just have to wonder why we don't have a leaving mom process, what I'm taking over my little boy, because that seems so integral to integration, to initiation, excuse me. So I'm absolutely in love with that idea. But I want to mention that on the after initiation weekend that some of us did at land of my grandfather's in 2006, it was supposed to be the Warrior 2 weekend.
Mm-hmm.
We did the Memento Mori process, and I brought that into iGroups where you walk a man through the decades of his life and you ask him 4 questions. How are you financially in your, let's say, 10 to 20? How are you emotionally? How are you spiritually? And how are you physically? And those bring up so many shadows and so many memories that men forget, And then at the very end of it, he dies, and you turn him around and you have him look at all, what he's been talking about, and you say, what do you need to change now in your life? What do you need to do now in order to get what you need? Basically what you said. And that process was just amazing. And I brought it to iGroups, and I've got to tell you, men have been changed big time from that process. So I'm a huge believer in that. And if we can incorporate it in the weekend, we can certainly do it in iGroups. It's an amazing process. I've had guys weeping on the floor, going to hug their little boy after this process, and so I'm a big fan of that. So I thank you for bringing that up, and all that you mentioned tonight about modifying the weekend. So I'm bringing stuff into it.
Thank you, Lars.
Thanks, Lars.
Hakam, is that how you say it?
Yeah, that's me. Right. I like all I'm hearing. I'm just wondering about this integrating these new modalities into iGroup. And I know that iGroup has sort of this phenomenon of being very different depending on the group itself, the makeup of the people in it, how closely or how far they stick to the lines. I'm wondering if us sort of imposing something from outside of the iGroup takes away from that organicness of that group of men working together. Because it can develop over years and it can be like a real deep and meaningful relationship. So I'm aware of a potential for heavy-handedness.
Level 1. And outside, not B.
Start telling men every iGroup must have a component of this that was on the weekend, for example. That would feel like an imposition. And I'm also concerned with, and Hakan is a worrying person. This might be the first time you meet me, so it doesn't mean that I'm putting down anything. I love the ideas, like I said. I'm just a worrying person.
Chicago Black Hawk, level 4.
If we also, the iGroup as an extension of the weekend is an extension of the initiation. I like that the weekend be the initiation and to MKP. I don't like it to be sort of a probationary period afterwards where a man has to engage in an iGroup or a pit training or any sort of further activity to maintain that status. With that, I'm in.
Thanks, man. I hear that. Yes, sir.
Philip, I want to just check in with you on your time. I know you're at the airport picking up your wife. I don't want to abuse your time. I got one more man hands up. Does that work for you?
Yeah, that's good.
All right, Tom.
Hello, Phil. I like the changes on the weekend that I'm hearing you talk about. Last couple of weekends I've staffed, there have been a lot of changes. It's kind of unsettling when they spring on me, but all in all, I like the changing of the process to more mirror the arc of initiation. I like that. I am here on this call because I really want to find out how to make my I group and the I groups in my area stronger. And so I'm not sure how this relates to making my I group better. Generally speaking, it seems like good I groups have at least one man, sometimes two, who are good leaders, strong facilitators that bring this stuff to the weekend, have staffed a lot, have facilitated a lot. Not all I groups have that. So I'm looking for ideas on how to spread the wealth. I don't know what that is.
I guess one of the things that I would suggest, and this is completely parochial of me, challenge your leader body to have your certified guys come into I groups as sort of guest facilitators and challenge them to help you, build your container differently and mix things up energetically, and sort of see what happens. I know a number of my peers believe that our job is, I just lead weekends. I'm just like a hired gun, and I don't believe that. I believe we have to support the communities that we're part of, and let's challenge ourselves to do that and be challenged to do that.
Thank you. One last question.
The pit as it stands now is really kind of not supportive of the new processes on the weekend or necessarily. And guys in my community go right into an I group and they seem to be good without having. I'd rather them go into a strong I group than to go into a pit, frankly. My thought.
Okay.
All right, one last question, and Douglas, you got the last question.
Yep. Thank you, Mike. Hey, Phil. Had a lot of good stuff. I'm a fan of Greenwald. I like this memento mori. I like the money shadow. When you think about it, what do men think about a lot? Bucking and money. Know that we removed sexual shadow from pits. That's a fact. Maybe, but here's my question. This is all good stuff. Maybe it could have been moved into the pit, and just what if the weekend was good enough, Phil? Have you considered that?
I absolutely have, and I've dismissed it out of hand. I don't want men who come on my weekends to get good enough. I want them to get the absolute best that we can give them. I listened to the commander of the Blue Angels, the Navy demonstration team, say what his standard is. And his standard is, we seek perfection. And in the course of seeking that, we may come upon excellence. But we're not going to lower the standard and say, well, a C is good enough. A 70 is good enough. It's passing. These men deserve more than average and passing. We're better than that. And so, yeah, I thought about that. And like I said, I've dismissed it out of hand.
Thank you. Thank you, Phil.
Yep.
All right. Thank you, Philip. And I'm going to ask you, will you come back to the iGroup Council sometime after you drop this and maybe you can doodle on it some more? Are you open to that, Philip?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Because it's all about the work. It is all about the work.
All right. Thank you, Philip.
man.
Any last words to wrap it up? Yep. I appreciate you, Philip. Thank you very much for visiting.
Take care now.
See you, Phil.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Well, I need to take a breath. Oof. All right. How are we doing on time? So any Philip, Mountain Room, any comments, any feedback? I'm feeling like now I got a lot of work to do. We have a lot of work to do. And how do we make that connection to to the NWTA, and how much do we need to make? So anyways, I'd like to hear some general observations, general takeaways from what Phil's talked about, and then we'll go to a checkout. Josh.
Yeah, I liked what Philip had to say about doing an additional introduction and topics around shadow work to men going through the NWTA, because many of them, including myself, didn't have a whole lot of experience with shadow work before I came to MKP. So having an idea that additional shadows could exist beyond necessarily what I touched on in the NWTA, knowing that that next step could be into the I group circles, that's great. Specifically, I'm an I group rep for the Lawrenceville group, Gwinnett group here down in Georgia. What I think could help with this transition would be if there were processes provided to help do additional integrations in shadow work and circles. Some circles like mine, we have a little bit of a magician in our group, but we could definitely use more. And I feel like additional processes would help facilitate those conversations and getting into deeper shadow work. And that's my comment about how we could see additional shadow work come from NWTA into local I groups. Completely with that.
Thank you. Yeah, and I think, can't remember who said that about the 10-year thing and then have a man look back. I'd love to encapsulate that and put it into the I group, the process library, so men can actually go to the library and pick out certain things that, you know, I tried on in the group. So thank you, Josh. Appreciate it. And good to see you. The other Josh, Clyger.
Yeah. So what's coming up for me is like around the idea, you know, just connecting the NWTA to I groups. And I like that, you know, it seems important to me too. And I wonder if there's been an attempt to form an I group from the men in each NWTA, you know, virtually. You know, I could see a few challenges with that, but I wonder if that's something that has been tried.
So the answer is yes. There've been formations of I groups from NWTAs as well as from PITs, and they don't work very well, from what I understand, just because you know, they don't have some of the experienced men. The only way it can work is to have a couple experienced men come in and support the group for the first 6 to 9 months and then do drop-ins. So usually that's what I've witnessed. If they come right out of the pit and on their own, they usually don't survive for very long.
Yeah. Yeah, I can see that. That makes sense because obviously they're all, you know, new to, well, newly initiated anyway.
But
I wonder if
it'd be cool
maybe
to
those.
Go ahead.
Okay, thanks. Yeah, I mean, wondering if, well, maybe it's not a traditional I group. Maybe it's not, you know, the type of place where they go to do deep work. You know, but if there's a struggle to, you know, connect men from the NWTA to an I group, you know, maybe if a container is suggested or provided for them to keep in touch with each other and keep their conversation going with the men, you know, with whom they were initiated. I don't know, maybe that could increase participation in I groups too. Just a thought.
Okay, thank you, Josh. Yeah, good question. How come?
Yeah, we literally did what Josh is talking about. We started an I group out of NWTA. And we started out with a WhatsApp group. So everybody, we had each other's phone numbers. We started a WhatsApp group, and then somebody was like, "Hey, you want to start an I group and just do it on the WhatsApp?" And we're like, "Okay." And now we call in every Monday and do a virtual I group. I have to say, yes, we are looking into like bringing in more experienced facilitators to like run a few sessions and show us the ropes. But yeah, it can be done. I did my weekend in June, so I'm not sure whether these changes that we're talking about were actually implemented on my weekend or if this is something that we're going to see for years coming. Can somebody clarify, Mike or somebody, about that?
Yeah, they're not on all weekends. Not all leaders are implementing the changes. So yes, this is something that is just starting, just getting rolled out.
Okay.
Okay. Let's go Tom D, and then Dan Baldwin, and then we'll go with Ray, and then we'll do a checkout.
Sure, thanks. Um, we have traditionally in my ag group, get to the work rounds like, hey, what's your work to do tonight? And sometimes nobody's got anything burning. I always like to show up in my ag group with something in my back pocket to say, okay, this is the topic we're going to talk about tonight. Either it's sex or money or a particular thing, and that everybody has an opportunity to share. And invariably that gets somebody to pop on the topic that's there. So it's really kind of up to senior guys in the I group to lead that. But I like the idea of a common topic for the evening that we're all going to have an opportunity to share on. That seems to work for us.
Good. Thank you, Tom. Dan Baldwin, then Ray.
Well, Mike, you know my bias with the Circle of Men program that I'd love and get if, in addition to the 4 rounds that we traditionally do, that what's done in Circle of Men is during the Magician's round, we only do that for about 45 minutes. And we make sure we get everybody with the 5 done. But then we do another 30 minutes of doing something different, looking at shadow, going on an adventure, taking care of our little boy, whatever it is. So there's innovation and newness. And I'd love to see that we kind of like roll that out as an option for iGroups in the pit to choose from instead of just the traditional. And then more importantly, like once a month, have these new processes that here's this new process for the month to try out, including the depository of the iGroup process library, but add these things around river of grief, separation from mother, shadow, 3-ring circle, talking about death, things like that. It'd be great if that was a tool and that people were tuned in and saying, here, just print off the one or be able to get it on your phone. It's right on your app. Here's your phone. We can do this tonight if we want to. So that's my vision for the future of more play, more hope, more innovation, and it not being dogma that you have to do it this way. It's just something offered as a provision. I'm complete.
Thank you. Now, before I get to Ray, this is a great time for me to plug. If you're interested in ag groups like this and you want to become part of the ag group steering, I'm looking for some new men. So reach out to me if you have some interest on that, because I can't do these projects when I only have a couple guys. So if you're interested in this, reach out to me. All right, we're gonna end with Ray, and then we'll go to checkout.
Thanks, Mike. So just a couple things. My name is Ray Arata. I'm on the board with Phillip, and what I can share with all of you is that all of this is just as new to you as it is the vast majority of co-leaders and full leaders around the country. So give credit to Phillip for being courageous enough to read the field and to try some of these things. Now what we're doing in what we call our leader cabins, we're starting to bring some of these concepts, and we're encouraging, co-leaders and full leaders who are curious to, pick up the phone. And what I can tell you is a lot of them initially are saying, give us the process. Can you tell me, can you tell us what the process is? And the invitation I want to offer all of you, as this correlates to iGroups, is there's a leader in you, and it's really, and Phillip didn't say this, but he's looking, how can I improve the experience on the weekend? And what he is doing, and I've talked to a couple of other full leaders who have done this, is they're paying attention to the container, and then they're trying some stuff. So it's quite a ways away from being systematized, but in your own iGroups with a senior guy or two, try some things. If some of these processes are piquing your curiosity, they'll answer the phone and they can walk you through a variation on the theme, and you can try that in your iGroups. That's it.
All right, thank you, Ray. Okay, man, I appreciate this, and we've got 13 minutes, so let's do how many guys do we have here? 30? All right, quick checkout. One sentence, please. One sentence checkout. Could be a takeaway, could be a gratitude. And let's start with Ray since you're on the top, and then we'll go with Dan Baldwin, Tom D, and then Hatem.
I'm checking out, feeling connected to a whole group of men that I never knew, and I'm grateful. Out.
Playful and excited. I'm out.
Tom D. Um, Intrigued, interested. I'm out. Thanks.
Me, grateful, happy to have been here. Glad I joined. Thank you.
Thank you. Josh Kleiger, the other Josh Rose, Douglas.
Yeah, Josh Kleiger checking out. Grateful. Yeah, grateful to be connected. I'm out.
Tim Starnes checking out. I have seen some of these men before in person, like Ray Arata, staffing with him. I'm out.
All right, Josh Rose, Douglas.
Josh Oro's checking out, feeling connected and optimistic with what Phillip had to present. Thanks.
Douglas.
Loris.
Douglas checking out. Thoughtful. Blessings to Phil. Often wrong, but doesn't seem to be in doubt. So blessings. I'm out.
Thank you. All right, Loris, Dawn, and then Rob Tiller.
Laura, checking out, surprisingly amazed by what Phil said, because I was pretty skeptical at first and really liking it and loving this group. So with that, I'm out. Thank you.
Taking with awe, wonder, and gratitude. I'm out.
Tiller checking out, curious and hopeful. That I'm out.
Welcome aboard, Rob. Robert Weber, Charlie Penner, then Doug Even.
Checking it out, inspired about what I heard and appreciating Phil's attitude towards innovating and looking for ways to do things, experiment and try new things. I'm out.
Thank you.
Connected, intrigued, excited. I'm out.
Egan, curious, grateful to be here. Out.
All right, Bill Davies, Eric, and then Jip Katona.
Davies, I think I'll change my essence to innovation. I'm out.
Eric Cooper, inspired, engaged, and curious.
Jonathan, Perseverant Bull, I'm feeling inspired and have ideas to bring back to my group from some of this discussion. So I'm grateful and I'm out.
Thank you. Katona.
Yeah, right. So one thing Mike didn't say was he's also looking for somebody to replace him. So if you have the energy and you're willing, catch up and see what we can do. Out with joyitude.
Thank you for that, Jim. All right, Tim, and then John Carlson, and then Tim starts.
I did check out a little while ago, but I'll just simply add that I want to say hey to David Long, because he and I know each other, and I love these kinds of innovations. These are, because you don't always come off right up top, like having exactly the right formula. It's always an improvement. I do like that. So anytime there's a room for improvement, and it does seem to be a success, I'm in for it.
Thank you. You got the double dip. All right. Now I'm lost track. Who's next?
Carlson. Checking out, motivated. I'm out. Thank you, man.
All right. Jed and then Ron Belaziz.
Hey there. I'm holding both skepticism, enthusiasm, curiosity, and enjoy. I'm out.
Go ahead, Ron.
Ron, you're on mute.
About that. Checking out with gratitude and saturated. Thank you.
Thank you. Mark Dockery, Eric Sering, and then David Law.
Mark Dockery, check it out with gratitude. My theme for the past few months has been embracing change. So thankful for that opportunity to embrace another change.
Eric Siren, I am checking out, energized to bring more attention to building up more structure in my ag group and throughout the community. I think there's a lot of stuff we could be doing that I feel overwhelmed by, but I'm energized to do it. Thanks. Thanks all you men.
Thank you.
Dave Long Trout, those are two really good changes. I'm happy to hear about them. And yeah, I'm glad there's good changes. I'm out.
Thank you. All right, Jared.
Checking out with gratitude and curiosity. With that, I'm out.
Mark Broder.
I'm dealing with some of my own sadness and grief tonight, but that's a separate issue. But I'm checking out, really grateful for all of the information and the sharing, and I'm very connected. I'm out.
Thank you. Mr. McLeod.
Yeah, I'm realizing how my group has evolved away from the MKP model, and I'm looking forward to talking to Mike about that some more. And with that, I'm out.
All right. Thank you.
David Stein, checking out with a lot of gratitude to be a part of this group. And I heard a man suggest that we could have seasonal ideas that we're bringing into the I groups that are coming from Mankind Projects that are voluntary that they could be able to use. And I think that's a great idea to disseminate and try to create cohesion between all of the I groups in some abstract way where they're all kind of looking at the same things around the same time. And then we could collect their feedback and collect all that data. And I love that. Okay, I'm out with that.
Thank you. All right, James Chapman and then Michael Heminger.
James Chapman, Living Tiger Heart. I'm checking out reflective, curious, and questioning. And with that, I'm out.
Michael Heminger, feeling inspired and also sitting in some excitement about local momentum in our community with iGroups. And I'm out.
Thank you. David Davenport, and then John Owen.
Davenport, I'm so grateful to be here with you men tonight. Very meaningful to me. Thank you, thank you. I'm out.
I think that was me, Grandfather Osprey, checking out complete. Very glad I was here to Phillip's comments. Blessings to all you continuing to help men. I'm out.
Thank you. John Ham, and then did I get John Gwynn?
John Ham, checking out, missing out. I wish I could have been here sooner. I'm just getting off work, but I'm always glad to at least touch on a circle of men that are doing some work together. So thanks for the short time I've had here. Thank you.
Well, we will send out a recording of it so you can catch up on that. So John Gwynn.
I'm sorry, I stepped on somebody. I've already checked out. Blessings, guys.